the purpose is always going to find you.
Yes.
So it depends. Are you listening? Are you really trying to actively get to your purpose? So when people ask, how do you get here? I tell them to be quiet and be still and listen.
Hello, and welcome to the Leadership Reality Podcast with your girl, Taiji Charity. This podcast is for C-suite leaders to discuss their experiences and provide insight, encouragement, and inspiration for seasoned and inspiring leaders, offering valuable solutions to today's challenges that will inspire, ignite, and invigorate new and seasoned leaders to walk in their God-given authority with compassion, kindness, and empathy. So sit back, relax, and be prepared to be inspired with today's episode of Leadership Reality. Thank you.
Welcome to another episode of Leadership Realities with me, Taiji Charity. This is a podcast where we put phenomenal C-suite leaders in the spotlight to share their leadership journey with us. Today's phenomenal leader is Kandee Rochelle Lewis. Kandee is the CEO of Positive Results Center. She is the founder of Black Women Leaders of Los Angeles and a Civil Rights Commissioner for the City of Los Angeles. She also serves on Kaiser Permanente's Bernard J. Tyson Community Engagement Stakeholder Committee. A master trainer and certified advocate, she specializes in domestic violence, sexual assault, and suicide awareness prevention, providing training, facilitating events, and developing youth peer advocacy programs to promote healthy relationships. Her leadership has earned numerous accolades, including the 2024 Excellence in Nonprofit Leadership Award, 2023 Nonprofit of the Year from Senator Stephen Bradford, and the 2018 Vanguard Most Influential African American Women of Los Angeles. She has trained with national organizations and served on key advisory boards, including the LA City Council Domestic Violence Roundtable and Mayor Garcetti's Human Trafficking Portal. As a Los Angeles native, Kandee has been married for 42 years, y'all, and is a proud mother, grandmother, and pit bull dog owner. So y'all better watch out. Kandee, welcome to the show.
Taiji, thank you so much. I am excited to be here.
I'm excited to have you here, girl. I wish we could have read all of your accolades, because, sister, you have earned some amazing awards, which speaks volumes of the work you do. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank
so
you.
Much.
I'm really honored. It's been a blessing. It's been a journey, and it's been a pleasure.
Well, I want you to just share I know we probably don't have time to share all of the amazing things that you have accomplished, and I want to definitely dig into the how, because this is really about providing information for new leaders, for seasoned leaders, for anybody on their leadership journey, because we learn from one another.
Yes.
Iron sharpens iron, right?
Yes.
So first, tell us about the mission of Positive Results.
Positive Results' mission is to Positive Results' mission is to address trauma around intimate partner violence, sexual assault, and bullying by teaching people how to have healthy relationships. And we envision a world where everyone is safe in their home.
That's good. Yeah. How does social media impact that? Because it's easy to be a bully on social media. That created probably a whole different lane of bullying, right?
Right. Well, with social media, not only does it create a lane for bullying, but it also creates a lane for stalking and all forms of violence. So when we look at violence, there's actually about 9 types of violence, including physical, emotional, sexual, spiritual, social, medical, and financial. And so when you're looking at social media, it allows people an opportunity to hide.
Yes.
You know, most people are not showing up as their real self. There's all these facades. And so someone can hide behind social media because you don't have to give your name. You can bully someone, you can stalk them. And then we have people that create these platforms and apps that you can push a button and send a really nasty negative message about 1 million times in about a minute.
Really?
Right. So you hear a lot about kids saying, I've got to turn my phone off because I can't stand these messages coming.
Yeah.
Because someone has created an app that says, you ought to kill yourself, or I hate you, or you're stupid, and they could push a button and a million messages will go to that person.
That's scary.
Oh, it's very scary.
Whew, that we can just unpack that right there. But I want to know how does your work combat that? Because when we talk about the different forms of trauma, I usually hear about the physical trauma. You do hear about bullying, but not necessarily all the different ways that people bully.
Right.
But you mentioned emotional, you mentioned financial. Some of those we don't really unpack enough because we're not aware of them. So how does the work you do really unpack when people have experienced these different levels of trauma?
I'm so glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
So most times people don't unpack them because if it is not a physical, they don't consider it
Abuse.
Violence. Right. But it's violent, it's abusive, it's emotional, and it tears you down. Back in the day, we used to say words, you know, sticks and stones
may break my bones, but words
will never hurt
lies
you.
we told.
Oh my gosh. Those are so untrue because words live in our spirit.
Absolutely.
For our entire life. You know, I tell people, think back when Maury Povich and all those other people first started, and somebody would sit in a seat like this and say, Maury, I want to bring this person on because when I was in the 5th grade, and they're now 25, they're 30 years old.
Still holding on to what somebody said when they were in the 5th grade.
Because it's in our spirit.
Yeah.
And so the work that we do, we work with people of all ages from 4 to about 95.
Wow.
And depending on what their age is will determine the conversation. But we do real talk, real conversation. And so with young people, especially children, we talk about respect and boundaries. We talk about healthy relationships. We talk about what it means to be a friend. But when they get about 5th grade and up, they've been exposed to so much violence and abuse in their homes, in the street, in the school, in the community. So we're talking real conversations. We're really teaching them about themselves.
Yeah, that's good.
Because once you realize that you are not who other people say you are.
You're going to have me sipping all day. Go ahead, keep going.
Right, then they are able to start walking in their truth. Because what happens is, very often we have hurt people raising up people and hurting them because of the generational abuse. People say post-traumatic stress disorder. And let me tell you right now, there's no such thing as post in certain communities. When did we get past it?
Oh,
okay. It is actually CTSD, continued traumatic stress disorder.
Wow.
So when a woman is pregnant, and if she's already in an abusive relationship, when she gets pregnant, the likelihood of her being further abused increases 66%.
Wow.
And it usually gets a lot more aggressive because the thing about violence and abuse is about power and control.
That part.
How do I get to keep this power, especially when this woman is now pregnant? So her focus is going on the baby. And if an abuser is trying to get that attention, whether it is a male or a female, because there's all types of relationships today, or a they or them. So I need to get that attention back. So I'm going to hit you. I'm going to kick you. I'm going to push you downstairs. I might push you out the car. I might do anything to you. I might hurt your pet. I might threaten your parents. And so then that cycle is continuing while the unborn child is also experiencing it.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, when a woman gets pregnant, the first thing she does, she holds her stomach.
Absolutely.
And we start talking to our baby.
That's right.
And everyone says, read to your baby, sing to your baby. Do you not think that baby hears when somebody is calling them a stupid mofo or hitting them? They experience the same thing we do. And so our children are learning violence while they are in vitro. Okay, so what we do is we work with people and we really talk to them about who you are, not who your mom, your dad, the preacher, teacher, or the old boy or girl down the street is. And then we help them to really think about what are their goals, what are their dreams, and help them define them. So we have a youth leadership academy that's real leadership.
Good.
self-assessment and discovery. Who are you? Effective communication, conflict resolution, tolerance, diversity, respect, health, hygiene, and etiquette, public speaking. But it's about that respect, because that little thing of respect can get you killed in the street or get you president of the United States.
Come on.
Okay?
Look.
Yes.
Look. Whoo, you said a mouthful. You said a mouthful. That's so true.
It is very true.
I want to know, though, how did you get started in this work? And then you also mentioned one of your program is Real Leadership. Let's talk about what is Real Leadership. So
Yes.
first I want to know, how did you get started in the work? When did you realize you were a real leader?
Okay.
And what is Real Leadership?
So I'm going to answer those questions out of order.
Come on.
So I realized I was a real leader in elementary school.
Okay.
I was going to 74th Street Elementary. I was in choir, and some of my friends were like, why would you do that? I said, because I can sing. They're like, you can't sing? I said, well, nobody knows it, but I'm going to go ahead and sing. Do you want to come with me? And they joined with me.
Wow.
And then I learned some things about myself in the 8th grade at Horace Mann. So a friend, or so I thought, had punked me into having a fight. So the first thing I learned in the 8th grade is people will use you for their entertainment.
Yes, they will.
I learned that day, no one will ever use me for their entertainment again. What I also learned is when I approached this person and asked them about, what did you say about me? And they told me to go away, that they didn't say anything about me. Before I could say anything else, this supposed to be friend pushed me into her, and she wailed off and hit me. What I learned is, you don't know who you're messing with.
Yes.
This particular young lady was the 9th child with 8 brothers in front of her.
Oh, Lord.
They all taught her how to fight. I also learned in order to fight, you have to know how to fight.
Right.
I didn't know how to fight.
Oh, God.
I also learned I didn't like to be hit. So if I don't want to be hit and I don't like to fight, but we live in a violent country, you have to know how to fight. So I learned how to fight here.
Yes.
With
in
my
your
brain.
Mind. Yes.
I also learned how to fight here with my eyes. I'm very observant. People think, oh, because you talk a lot, you don't see. I see everything.
Oh, no, that's
I see
right.
everything. I also learned how to fight here. So
when you say hear your mouth, for
With
those
my
of you who
mouth.
are watching or listening on
Yes.
Spotify and those other platforms, we're talking about our mouth now.
talking about my mouth. So I know how to cut you up without saying a bad word. But I can also check you up and down if I need to, but I can also speak love and life to you.
Yeah.
And then the most important thing I also learned is how to write, because I can write, especially in corporate America. I'd have to cut somebody up with my words in writing a letter, an email, or getting someone to back up off of me with writing. And then it served me well as I'm writing grants. And as a leader, I learned to become a leader just in life, following and watching my mom and my dad, working in the community, being in outside sales. And how I got here, I was in outside sales. I sold everything. I am a master salesperson.
Is that right? Well, that serves you great in
Yes.
the nonprofit world.
Oh, absolutely. And I learned that in order to really be an effective leader, not only do I need to know my product, I need to know my clients, but I also need to know my competition.
Yes.
And so I learned those things, and I found where was the area for me to excel. And so I use my voice, which is my platform. I have a very powerful voice, and I don't take it for granted. So I use it, and I use it. I think I use it pretty well.
That absolutely.
And how I found myself here, I was working in corporate America. I was vice president of sales and interim president for a technology company.
Okay.
It was a very racist, sexist company, and it broke my spirit. Between the last 10 years, all of the jobs that I had were outsourced to other countries because that was the policy. And even though I'm losing jobs, I'm gaining bigger and better jobs. And they're paying more, they're giving me more experience and more responsibilities. And I never lost a job because of anything that I did. It was just outsourced. So I'm working for this company, and they are toxic. And I didn't realize how toxic it was.
Okay.
I was also in that phase in life where I was wearing a cape. I could do everything.
Come
You
on.
know, I can be the butcher, the baker, the candlestick maker.
That's that black woman syndrome right there, y'all.
Absolutely.
We wear them capes.
Yes. And I didn't know how to take this cape off. And I got lost. And I became depressed. And I had a complete mental health breakdown. I originally thought I had my breakdown on June 3rd, 2007.
Okay.
But I realized it was a 10-year process. Nothing happens overnight.
Right.
Everything happens as a process.
Right.
Just like a child being born, it takes them 9 months.
Exactly.
Okay? And it takes a woman 2 to 3 years for her body to get back normal.
Huh.
However, it took me 10 years to have this complete mental health breakdown.
Wow.
And what I realized was it was actually the spirit moving me from where I was to where I needed to be, because I didn't have the capacity to get to my purpose. I was lost in the fog. And so my brother, he started this company in 1992. Wait a minute, let me think about it. 1992. Yes, 1992. And so he ran the company until 2004, and then he let it sit.
Okay.
Lost his nonprofit status, and then one day while I was laying in bed, he said, "Why don't you get up and run my company?"
Wow.
I said, "Well, it's not your company anymore because it's just there."
Right.
He says, "Well, it's still mine because I still have the
created it.
name. I
Exactly.
created it." And I told him no. I didn't want to do that. I didn't know what a nonprofit was. I had no idea. I volunteered here and there, but nothing really. And so one day, as I'm still laying in bed 6 months later, I decided I need to do something. I didn't want to go back to corporate America. I made everyone that I worked for a lot of money. And I decided, why don't you just go ahead and try it? Why don't you give yourself a chance? See, because we don't give ourselves a chance. We will hold back on our purpose, our vision, our skills, our talents, because you know that everyone who has ever been born was born with at least one gift.
That's right.
And at least one talent. And I was blessed to have multiple, but I was so lost at that point. And finally, one day I just got up and I started volunteering in the community with other nonprofits to see, what is a nonprofit? How does this work? And I realized I'm good at this. And I also realized that everything that I learned in corporate America, you could do a nonprofit.
Transfer those skills into
Absolutely,
the
you
business
can.
of nonprofit.
Absolutely. And then when I realized that nonprofit doesn't mean that I can't make money.
Look, talk
Wait
about
a minute,
it.
okay?
Exactly. Because people get confused about that.
They do get confused. They're like, I can't make any money.
Right.
You can absolutely make money. You just have to put it back in the community.
Absolutely. You're
You
not,
can pay
you're not earning
yourselves.
money for the purpose of being a profitable business.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so that's how I got in the business. I started volunteering. And then when I got to a place where I said, I can do this. And I have to back up, because once I had my breakdown, I realized it was something that I had been missing the last few years. And that was my spiritual side. I completely lost sight of that. And once I got back to that, I am like, when I tell you,
Just
me
a
and
flower
my spirit,
that's blossoming, blossoming.
And so
Am I saying that word right? Yeah,
I have
blossoming.
conversations all the time with my spiritual self, with my higher power. You know, some people call it God, some people call it spirit. I'm calling it whatever is taking me to the next level, because that's what it is. I'm calling it God. I'm calling God my ancestors. I have a Trinity: Father God, Mother Earth, and our ancestors.
All right.
And so one day I said, okay, I think I'm ready for this, God.
Yeah.
And I opened the door, and it has been a journey, not a destination. Yeah.
Like, I got so many goosebumps. My little skin just keep going, whoo, because it's all so powerful. And I share so many of some of the things that you talked about. Like, I feel like I can relate on different levels to it. But if I could sum it up, it really sounds like you used your pain for purpose. Like your pain sort of cause that purpose to unfold or to reveal itself in you.
Yes.
Do you think that's the norm for everybody when they're walking in purpose? Do you think that it's the pain that's the prerequisite for getting to purpose? Like, what are your thoughts around that?
I don't know about everyone,
Okay.
but I definitely know for myself and for many people.
For
as
me
well.
too. That's how I got there.
And when I talk to young people, especially those that are dealing with trauma, that have come out of trauma and now they're trying to find themselves, I always tell them that your pain can be someone else's healing. And so, you know, once you realize that first off, it was not your fault.
Yeah.
Everything that has happened to you up until that point is because of someone else, including things that you've actually done, things that you may have done to yourself.
Contributed towards your pain.
Exactly. It came from the pain, the trauma, the violence, the abuse.
Yeah.
And it gave you this one platform to walk on. But once you realize that's not mine, and I don't have to hold it, and I don't have to walk in it. But what I learned about me is I also was not paying attention. So back in 1997, God told me to be a teacher. I was like, forget it. I'm not going to do it.
Ain't doing that.
No, ma'am. I had 3 kids, and I'm teaching them, their friends, my cousins, nieces, nephews. I'm teaching all these people. And I'm like, I don't want to do that. And the Spirit said, okay, because we have free will. So my career took off, but my spirit plummeted. 10 years later, that's when I had the mental health breakdown.
Oh my gosh.
But 10 years later, it was March 2017.
Yeah.
I was standing on the stage at Dorothy Chandler Pavilion, receiving the award for Woman of the Year from the Board of Los Angeles County Board of Supervisors. What was that award for? Education. See, I was walking around here in this little stinking thinking that being a teacher meant being in a school.
Yeah.
Being a teacher is in life.
Yes.
Everything that we do, we are always learning and we're also sharing.
Yeah.
And so I learned that I was trying to miss out on the purpose.
Come on.
But the purpose is always going to find you.
Yes.
So it depends. Are you listening? Are you really trying to actively get to your purpose? So when people ask, how do you get here? I tell them to be quiet and be still and listen.
That's so good. I hear one of the producers in the background go, now they supposed to be doing the show for us, right? You got them all in. You have roped them all. But it's just so powerful because also I think pain helps us to see an inner strength that we didn't even know we had.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Because sometimes you can say, you know, I know for me in particular, I used to always, Faith, trust God. He is your provider. But it wasn't until I was laid off my corporate job that I found God to be truly a provider. And I'm like, because I'm talking about something that I've really not yet experienced to the depth of, because I had a regular paycheck coming in. So I knew that my basic needs were being taken care of. But when that job went away, I'm like, okay, God, you a provider, right? I done told everybody you provider, right? And that was the opening of the door for this nonprofit that I started. But it is so amazing how that pain just creates so much if you allow it, if you listen.
If you listen and allow it.
If you allow it.
Yes.
Right?
Because
it can send you down a different path as well.
Right.
If you're not
absolutely.
listening.
And everybody's pain looks different.
Yes.
And everybody's door looks different.
Right.
Like for me, I had to have that complete mental health breakdown. And when I say complete, I drove myself the day that I quit my job, that I didn't say that I was making $300,000 for.
Oh, come
I
on.
was like, because see, not all money is good money.
That part.
And I was at the point where none of it mattered. I couldn't stand anything or anybody. And I had to go, I was fortunate enough, blessed enough to be able to go to see a mental health therapist who helped me to understand I was chronically stressed and clinically depressed. I felt so much better because now I had a word for what I was experiencing.
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
crying, I was
You can
upset,
call it what
I
it
was
is.
doing all kinds of things that were not candy.
Yeah.
But because we live in this fast world, you know, I'm thinking like, okay, this is what I got to do to get to the next moment, to the next day, to pick up a kid, to go to work.
Yeah.
And I realized it wasn't. Then I had to go home and go to bed. I went to bed for almost a year.
Wow.
Because now I'm lost. Now I don't know who Kandee is.
Yeah.
My purpose was to get up and go to work every day and to raise my family, but my family is almost grown and I don't have a job, and that was my fault. Like, what am I going to do?
Yeah.
But once I said, wait a minute, God didn't just put you here to be a salesperson.
Come on.
I realized that the purpose that you had at one point can change.
That's true.
And you can have another purpose. And so I got out
That
of bed.
purpose was for that season.
Yes, for that season. So I got out of bed and I started actively looking for my purpose. I didn't know what it was. But once I got it, I knew it. And this work, I love it. And this work, we work with everyone. You know, I talked about our leadership. So we actually have 4 platforms.
Okay.
So our youth leadership not only includes youth leadership, but also peer advocacy. So we train young people to be peer advocates on domestic violence and sexual assault, because most people say, go find a trusted adult. But that adult is not to be trusted. Many people
And
know.
it's not easy. That's easier said than done.
Oh, absolutely. Many people know that most people who have experienced abuse experienced it from adult. And so
And sometimes it's an adult that they trusted.
most of the time, adults that they trust. You know, when I was little, people used to talk about stranger danger. I tell everybody, you better be aware of who you are around, especially those that profess that they love you. I'm going to take care of you. These are pedophiles looking for a way to abuse, and not necessarily sexually, but emotionally, mentally, physically, financially abuse them and use them. So we teach them everything that I know. I train young people, and my team train young people so that they could support another child. Because if that parent isn't, or I shouldn't say parent, I should say an adult. If the adult is not abusive, maybe that adult has been abused and they don't have the capacity to help their child.
Yeah.
Or they're so busy working 2 or 3 jobs, navigating whatever city they're in,
Right.
being a single parent or dual parenting household, they don't have the capacity.
Right.
So if we don't train the kids, that's who they're going to talk to.
Absolutely.
And kids will say 1 or 2 things if they don't know. Well, what did you do? And we can't blame the victim.
Right.
We also will hear them say, well, we could roll up on them and handle that.
Right.
Okay, so we don't want that to happen. So we train them to give them the same tools and skills that we have. And also I said victim. Let me roll that back.
Okay.
We no longer say victim or survivor or thriver. We say experiencer.
Oh,
Because
that's
people
good.
have experienced some things.
Words are so powerful, right?
Right.
Just changing that shift gives it a
Yes.
whole different meaning for me.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Wow.
And then we have the most powerful program, a mental health ambassador program, where we train youth between 16 to 25 to understand the common causes of depression, anxiety, suicidology, substance use and abuse, and suicidology. So we want them to understand why you're doing certain things. You know, you might see some kid
good.
who's smoking a joint and they're getting high all day long. Well, they're not getting high all day long for the fun
Just
of it.
for the sake of getting high.
Right.
Exactly.
There is a reason.
Yep.
You know, you see somebody that's crying, that's angry, upset. There's a reason. Now, how can we help this person understand
That why.
and then move from the pain to moving
so
to
good.
another space?
That's so good.
And we pay them $25 an hour to take
That's
our
even
class.
better.
Absolutely, because we know the young people in that age range, they have to have money. They have to have money. They want to participate in these programs, but they can't just like, okay, I'm going to take 4 hours, and because maybe their family is saying, you better go get some money.
Right.
Or maybe it's just their needs.
Right. I feel like school is in session. Like I want to sit here and write notes because it's
Yes.
so much of what you said is parallel to just my own experience in terms of the work that we do, because we basically describe our acting classes the same way. It gives young people an opportunity to put a why behind a behavior, but we separate their experiences with the character. We're talking about a character.
Right.
Now, why is this character behaving the way this character is behaving? And it allows them to unpack and then look at their own and make their own assessment about how they're behaving or how they're responding to certain things. How they're responding.
Yes.
Exactly, because we all have a response to things. And like you said, you can read somebody and not even say a word. You can your facial expression, your just how you show up speaks volumes.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Well, look, the work is so powerful. And we need it because we have people walking around who are hurt, who've been traumatized. They don't know how to put a name to it. They don't know how to work through it, how to overcome it. So I'm grateful for positive results and the work that you are doing. It's just absolutely phenomenal. Is your brother still around?
My brother is still around.
What does he have to say about where you've taken this organization?
He's so proud. He's so
I'm
proud.
sure.
I love my brother so much because he's one of the people that helped me to move to this space by providing an opportunity. And I want people to understand that all you have to do is provide an opportunity. And that opportunity could be a smile. It could be a plate of food. It could be a job.
Showing up for people. It's that simple.
Just that simple.
Showing up for people.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be a lot.
Sometimes people just need you to show up for them and know that they can count on you to show up for them. Look, this is so, I mean, it's just rich all the way around. But I want to talk about just in terms of building your team, taking this nonprofit from losing a status where you weren't, that was under your brother's watch. No disrespect, brother. I'm just saying, calling the realities, right? But taking it back to getting a status, building a team. What was that like for you? Just bringing on your first full-time staff person or bringing on your volunteers. I don't know how many staff members you have or how many volunteers. I'm assuming it's a lot because you got a lot of different programs and how, ways in which you do the work that you do. Talk to me about that. What was that like building your team?
Okay, so let me first say that my brother didn't lose the status.
Okay.
He just let it lapse because of all the different things that he had to do. Being a father, being a husband, being an employee, and being a business owner as well.
Okay. So brother, you heard that. Brother didn't lose the status.
Yes.
It just overlaps.
And then building a team. So when I first started doing this, like I said, it was about 2018. I started trying to figure it out. By December of 2019, I knew it. And I walked into January 2020 saying, okay, this is my time. And I went to a conference and there was a room full of people. And I went in actually on a scholarship because I didn't have any money. And I got there right when it started, and the facilitator said, how many people in here know someone? And everyone raised their hand. And they said, wrong question, who in here doesn't know anybody? And I was the only person that raised my hand. Timing is everything. She said, oh, what's your name? I stood right up. I am Kandee Lewis, and I'm the CEO of Positive Results Center. Actually, I was the executive director. And so she said, okay, well, tell us about yourself. People, be prepared all the time. I was prepared that day. That day, I met all Black leadership in LA, the power brokers, and I walked out of that room with 2 contracts.
You look.
Okay.
Look, hold on, let me see it, because that's called strategic thinking.
Yes.
And utilizing the opportunity to make yourself known. And this is a side note. I mean, just with the name Kandee, I'm just gonna throw this in there. Did you get it when New Edition came out with Kandee, girl? Yeah. Okay.
Girl,
just a side note. I just had to ask that question.
Between Kandee Girl, just like Kandee.
Oh yeah, that one too.
All the candies. I know
candy.
the songs. Everywhere I've worked, people would sing the songs.
You got your own theme songs.
And on our last gala, I walked out on Just Like Kandee.
Are you serious?
Yes, I did. Everyone went crazy.
I love it.
But going back to starting it, I just started it. So I had no clue what I was really supposed to do, but I knew that I could write a program. I could also reach out. And so my first employee was my niece, my brother's daughter. And so we worked together to do a youth leadership academy with one of the major nonprofits in LA. And then I did a conversation on being an intelligent Black person with another nonprofit. And then I got a contract with the Sheriff's Department to do a youth leadership academy. And then I got another job with another major organization, and they had a program called Motivated Mothers of Jordan Downs. And so I handled that. And then my niece went off, and I was the only employee, but I had some volunteers. And my board member, my board chair at the time, her name was Rhonda. Rhonda was a beast. She was everywhere with me doing everything. And so we grew. It wasn't until maybe 2013 that I bought on actually before that, my first consultant / facilitator was, and I have to say her name because she blessed me in so many ways. Her name is Kelly Dillon. Kelly Dillon is a phenomenal woman. She is an experiencer. She is a facilitator. She is a leader. And she was my first person. When I met her, she had just come back into the community. And I said, I'm going to hire you as soon as I get some money. And every time I get $100, I would have her come and work with me and do some facilitation. But it wasn't until I got my first major grant in 2017. Now remember, I said I started in 2010. And I had little money here, little money there. And we started, getting more. But it wasn't until 2017 that I got a major federal grant. And I called Kelly and I said, you remember I said I'm going to hire you? I called her. She came with me. And another young lady, someone that I've known all my life, Gia Ali, she came. And so my team was myself, Gia, and Kelly. And we grew the business significantly. And around COVID, our business even got bigger. And then it got smaller. And so today, there's a total of 6 of us. So 2 of them, my niece is back. Yes. And and she's our office administrator and grant manager. And then we have another young lady who is our director of operations. So let me put names to it. Asher is my niece. And then Ashley is our director of operations. And then Crystal, who is a great friend of my daughter's. They went to college together. They became roommates together. She is our program manager. And then recently I've had the pleasure and the opportunity of working with both my daughters. Vanessa is our programs manager and training manager. No, director of operations, director of education and training. And then there is Melinda, my other daughter, and she is our reproductive justice director.
I love it.
And so we have a small team, but
you
a
have
mighty
what you
team.
need right there in your network.
Absolutely. But we also have about 200 volunteers. Depending on what program we're doing. We could have 2 or 3 volunteers. We could have more. And now with our mental health ambassadors, once they go through the program, they have the opportunity to actually get employed by us. And so we have some, we call them 2.0, and they are stipend, but they get up to 10 hours a week, sometimes 20 hours a week. So they're really part-time.
Okay. Look, my team is telling me I have to wrap it up, and they know I get so annoyed. I know, right? Because this is so good, and I'm having fun, because I'm learning just a lot, and just so many of the parallels, like I shared earlier, even with you building your team, because that was the same for me. I started building my team with the network I have. Most of the people on my team, we've had relationships that predate
Yes.
the organization, right?
Yes.
We were friends before I started Kids in the Spotlight in 2009. So it's
Yes.
just amazing to bring in the community that we, the relationships that we have to
Yes.
continue to do the work. But before I wrap it up, I'm ignoring them for a second. Before I
Yes.
wrap it up, I just want to know 3 leaders, or not necessarily 3, who are a few of the leaders that you admire?
I knew you were going to ask this
Of
question,
course,
and I
because I
thought
love
about
to hear
it.
that.
I'm going to have to first say my mother,
Yes.
every woman on my team,
Yes.
and every Black woman that I partner and collaborate with, not only here in Los Angeles, but I work with some dynamic women with the National Association for Sisters of Color Ending Sexual Assault.
Okay.
We have a cohort, and we're called Alawi.
Ooh.
And
like
these
that.
phenomenal women are doing amazing work. And I've done a lot of talking about our leadership, but before we go, I have to say that most of our work addresses sexual assault and domestic violence, creating awareness to prevent and end violence and abuse.
Yeah.
And we do that work through healing, movement, music, art therapy, talk therapy, hydrotherapy, and that's yoni steamings, and horticulture therapy, plants, and journaling. So it's important that
I've never heard of that.
Oh, it's amazing to take a plant and put your hands in it and build and create life.
Wow.
And help you to really, as you're sifting through the dirt,
Mm-hmm.
you're removing the rocks and the particles that don't bring value
Woo.
to you.
Uh-huh.
And then we do that also with ourselves. But
Oh,
the
that's
most
good.
important thing that we do is we honor women.
That's good.
As we work with all women, but we really specialize in Black women and working with them because that's who I am.
Yeah.
I'm a Black woman. My
That's
children
good.
are Black women. My mother is a Black woman. And we know that most of the violence and the abuse and the trauma and the pain affects us most and first. And once we heal Black women and Black people, then the rest of the world is healed as well.
Ladies and gentlemen, there is nothing else to be said, okay? We could have this could go on and on and on and on
Yes.
because you're just wisdom just dripping and experience on top of that with the knowledge also is just a recipe for healing. I mean, you're just a complete package of what I think society needs as a whole. But I do thank you for the work that you're doing because it really is phenomenal.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I know that you have gained some insight, something that you can use on your leadership journey. And if you're in need of some type of support, healing, please look up Positive Results because
Please
I'm
do.
sure that Kandee has some services that she can help you get to the next level on your healing journey. So until next time, please remember to do those 3 magical words: like, share, and subscribe, because somebody needs to hear what was shared today. All right, take care until next time. That's our show. Bye.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that is our show for today. I hope you were inspired and you gained some valuable nuggets that will help you to become a better leader and to walk in your God-given authority. Bye, until next time.